Have you ever wondered what true victory looks like? Is it about crushing your enemies, celebrating their defeat, and making them pay for every wrong they ever did to you? Today, we're going to look at one of the most remarkable events in human history that completely redefines the meaning of victory. We're talking about the conquest of Mecca by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This wasn't a victory won with swords and spears, but with something far more powerful: mercy and forgiveness. Let's rewind the clock. Imagine being driven out of your home, the city where you were born, where your family had lived for generations. Your property is seized, your loved ones are persecuted, and for years you face relentless hostility and war. This was the reality for the Prophet Muhammad and his followers. They were forced to leave Mecca, their beloved city, and migrate to Medina. For nearly a decade, they endured hardship, ridicule, and multiple battles initiated by the Quraysh, the ruling tribe of Mecca. They lost family and friends, and the pain of exile was a constant companion. Now, fast forward 10 years, the tables have completely turned. The Prophet Muhammad is marching back towards Mecca, not with a small band of exiles, but with a massive, powerful army of 10,000 strong. An army so large that the Meccans, who had once seemed invincible, were now trembling with fear. They expected the worst. They anticipated a bloodbath, a day of reckoning where old scores would be settled. Given the history of persecution, violence, and betrayal they had inflicted, revenge seemed not just likely, but justified. The leaders of Mecca, including Abu Sufyan, who had been one of the Prophet's most bitter enemies, were filled with dread. When Abu Sufyan saw the sheer size and discipline of the Muslim army, he knew resistance was futile. He was brought before the Prophet, his heart pounding, expecting a swift and harsh judgment. This was the man who had led armies against the Muslims, who had plotted against the Prophet's life. What would you do if your fiercest enemy was finally at your mercy? Here's where the story takes an astonishing turn. The Prophet looked at Abu Sufyan, his longtime adversary, and instead of ordering his execution, he showed him honor. He declared, "Whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyan will be safe. Whoever closes his door will be safe. And whoever enters the sacred mosque will be safe." This wasn't the declaration of a vengeful conqueror. It was the announcement of a compassionate leader. He was offering amnesty not just to the average person, but even to the house of his chief opponent. This single act sent a powerful message throughout Mecca. This was not a day for revenge. As the Muslim army entered the city, the Prophet's head was bowed low in humility on his camel. He wasn't celebrating a personal triumph. He was expressing gratitude to God. He instructed his commanders in the clearest terms: "Do not fight anyone unless they fight you first." His priority was to avoid bloodshed at all costs. The army entered Mecca from multiple directions, peacefully. Only a few very minor skirmishes initiated by a handful of Meccans who refused to accept the peaceful terms. The city that had been the epicenter of opposition fell without a major battle. It was a victory, but a victory of peace. Once inside the city, the Prophet went directly to the Kaaba, the sacred house of worship built by Abraham and his son Ishmael. It had been filled with over 360 idols, representing the various gods the Meccans worshipped. This was the heart of the idolatry that the Prophet had preached against from the very beginning. With a stick in his hand, he pointed at each idol, one by one, and recited a verse from the Quran: "Truth has come, and falsehood has vanished. Indeed, falsehood is bound to vanish." As he pointed, his companions pulled the idols down, and they crumbled to the ground. He was cleansing the sacred house, restoring it to its original purpose, the worship of the one true God. Then came the moment of truth. The people of Mecca, the very ones who had mocked him, stoned him, starved him, and driven him out, were gathered before him. They stood in silence, their heads bowed, their fate entirely in his hands. They were prisoners of war in everything but name. The Prophet looked at the crowd of familiar faces, people who were his kinsmen, his neighbors, the people of his city. He asked them a simple, profound question: "O people of Quraysh, what do you think I will do to you?" They had every reason to expect the worst. They knew the history of conquerors. They knew what they deserved according to the laws of war and tribal honor. But they also knew the Prophet's character. After a moment of heavy silence, one of them spoke up, saying, "We expect nothing but good from you, O noble brother and son of a noble brother." Their hope rested not on justice, but on his well-known mercy, and his response would echo through eternity. He looked at them and said, "I say to you what my brother Joseph said to his brothers. There is no blame on you today. Go, for you are all free." Just like that. Decades of pain, persecution, betrayal were washed away with three simple words: you are free. No reparations, no enslavement, no imprisonment, no public humiliation. Just complete and unconditional forgiveness. It was a moment that stunned everyone. His enemies became his fellow citizens. The desire for revenge was completely replaced by an overwhelming wave of mercy. This act of mass forgiveness was the true conquest. It wasn't about capturing land or buildings. It was about conquering hearts. The people of Mecca, witnessing this incredible magnanimity, embraced Islam in droves. They weren't forced or coerced. They were won over by the sheer moral power of forgiveness. The victory wasn't just in taking the city, but in uniting its people. The Prophet showed that true strength lies not in the ability to punish, but in the ability to pardon. This event, known as the Fateh Makkah, or the Victory of Mecca, stands as a timeless lesson in leadership, grace, and the transformative power of forgiveness. It teaches us that mercy is not a weakness, but the ultimate strength. It demonstrates that unity can be achieved not through force, but through compassion. The Prophet didn't just reclaim a city. He established a new standard for what it means to be victorious. He showed that you can win without making others lose, and that the greatest victory is the one that leaves no one defeated. Think about our own lives. How often do we hold on to grudges? How often do we fantasize about getting even with those who have wronged us? This story challenges us to look beyond our own pain and anger. It invites us to consider a higher path, a path of forgiveness. It's not easy, but the conquest of Mecca proves that it is possible, and that its rewards are far greater than any satisfaction revenge could ever offer. It builds bridges where revenge burns them, creates a future where revenge is trapped in the past. The Prophet's return to Mecca wasn't just the end of a long exile. It was the beginning of a new era of unity and peace for the Arabian Peninsula. It was a victory of principles over personalities, of compassion over cruelty, and of forgiveness over a desire for vengeance. And that is a lesson that is just as relevant and powerful today as it was over 1400 years ago. Thank you for joining me on this journey back in time. If this story of mercy and forgiveness moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the powerful lessons from history. Let us know in the comments what you think is the most powerful part of this story. See you next time.